your stream. Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, well, we were going to discuss the election. This is the first program, it's the first show actually, that we had since the elections, and that's what we were ready to discuss. But, well, you know, it's been 2 weeks, and so I guess we will discuss something else that is taking place right now. But I'm going to mention a couple of things about the election. For those of you who have been watching the program, I told you so. If you remember, I told you that Obama will be elected because the powers that be still wants Obama in power to finish the job that they hired him for. And we told you that. We told you that when they, actually in his first term, when they got John McCain to be his opponent, we told you that was a setup because they wanted him to win. So if you want somebody to win, you bring someone who is not electable. They brought you Romney. As soon as we knew that Romney was the one, I told you, he's not going to win. They are using the same formula again, where Obama will win, and definitely Obama won, and much better. He did much better than he did the first time. So the game is wide open. It's just many of you probably don't understand it. That's why you got me here, to explain it to you. Now, I did call that election when everybody, even many Democrats, many leaders in the Democratic Party were so afraid, and I was saying, no, he's going to win, because that's how it was set up. You see, the way we do elections here in this country, it's a little bit funny. You know, many of you probably understand it, but we're not going to go through it. We were prepared to go through it and explain to you what happened. But, you know, when we actually, now the populist votes were very close. You know, some of you might say, but wait a minute, you know, Romney could have gotten it. Well, yeah, if it was populist vote, then he could have gotten it. But these powers that actually structure all this understands that. They understand exactly every detail how it's going to work. It all comes down to 1 or 2 states. They understood that. They know that. And they know how to actually manipulate the votes. Yes, manipulate the votes to get it. And as we've seen, it was a huge win for Barack Obama. But that's how it was programmed. Now, many of you probably saying, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Trust me on that one. Okay, now, well, because, listen, the program they started is not finished yet. Romney will not be able to finish that program. Romney would have been a problem. Now, after Obama's term, they will be ready, those powers will be ready for a George Bush, for a Romney. It would have been okay. But right now, in this critical time, it's not. What is needed is Obama, because what is needed in the next 4 years, only a character like Obama will be able to perform and perform well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, Israel is at it again. Now, we've talked to you about 3 years ago in 2009, the beginning. Actually, it was December 2008 into January and February 2009, when Israel attacked Gaza and killed over 1,300 women, children, and men, women, and children. Most of them were women and children in their homes. Well, Israel is at it again, but if you watch any of the pro-Zionists, which is probably all TVs that you are watching, except this one, if you watch ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, even CNBC, MSNBC, they all think or make you think that Israel is defending itself. Really? Israel is defending itself. Who's attacking Israel? Who are these armies that are moving to the border, wanted to attack Israel? The fourth strongest army in the world. That's not all. It's got the United States, because as you know, in order for our president to be elected, they have to go there and get blessed by the Israelis that they're okay with them. And both of them, Romney, and not just the candidates, not just the last two candidates, anyone who wanted to be elected for an office in the United States, they have to go get blessed over there. I'm talking about offices in Washington. Anyway, so Israel, through its media, pundits here, trying to show that Israel is defending itself. Now keep in mind that the Palestinians in Gaza, you can't say it's unarmed. Sure, they have these missiles that they make over there. Missiles that doesn't know where it's going. Missiles that basically primitive, homemade, with whatever technology and whatever resources available. But yet, Israel has all the F-18s and F-22s and all the missiles and all the solid shields around it. With thousands of tanks, there's not even one tank in Gaza. Not even one. Not even a cannon. Yeah, they have small guns. So now you think that these Palestinians in Gaza wanted to destroy Israel. With what? But if you watch the news here in the United States, oh, Israel is defending itself, as if Israel really is under attack. They don't tell you, now they tell you, oh, Israel is retaliating for the missiles. Now think about this, okay? The Palestinians who are not armed and under the mercy of the Israelis with all their might and all their military might, and add the United States military might to back it up, okay? Because our president will say, we will defend Israel. We are the security of Israel. Well, you think those little Palestinians that are under siege, they're really going to go and attack Israel? But they don't tell you that. You know, you might see that on TV and you think, yeah, Israel has the right to defend itself. You don't know that this first week when it happened, we do have a chart that we want you to look at. This is up to yesterday, okay? Now, Israel is the one that attacked on November 8th. The Israelis, they invaded. They killed one. On the 10th, they killed 4 Palestinians. On the 11th, they killed 1 Palestinian, and yesterday they killed 9. So now look at that picture and tell me, who's attacking who? Who's attacking who? Now, how do you attack another people for self-defense when you are much stronger than those other people? You got nuclear bombs, for God's sake. So what happened in Gaza in the last couple of days? Well, we're going to show you. Look at these pictures. That's what happened in Gaza. This is what's happening as we speak right now. The Israelis are bombing Gaza. You know, these people don't have tanks. They don't have like an air force to send it over to protect their skies. That's what's going on. They don't have these Apache helicopters that are actually American-made, equipped, paid for by American taxpayers. Now, this one here is what very much started it all. Israel killed one of the Palestinian leaders. He was like the chief of staff in Gaza. They assassinated him. That was his car. So how come Israel gets to go with their unmanned drones that were supplied to them by the United States, or they probably made it? Because Israel is a very highly technological country that can make all those things. It makes drones. Actually, the Israeli technology, China buys that. That's how good that technology is. Now, the Palestinians' technology is, yeah, they make these homemade pipe missiles with no warheads, nothing. Basically, it's something to, I guess, all it does is it goes boom. That's about it. The Palestinians are the ones who are dying. Now, why is Israel doing all that? Very simple. Very simple. Israel is part of what is going on in the Middle East. The Palestinians, on the 29th of November, which is, by the way, it's the day of solidarity with the Palestinian people. That is the United Nations. They set up that day to be the day where the world, and by the way, 99% of people in the world, governments, and 99% of countries in the world, they support the Palestinians. The only ones who have to support the Israelis is very much the United States government, because they are very much like the Palestinians. They're Zionist occupied, politically occupied. And you see, political occupation is worse than military occupation. Because military occupation, you know them, they're there with their tanks, they're there killing you. But when you are politically occupied, many of your people don't know it because they don't see them. Our leaders here in the United States see them because they have to deal with them in Washington. That's why our leaders have to go and be blessed by these people. Now, Israel has an organization in the United States called AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. That's how they occupy us. Not just through that. They occupy us through our political system. When you control money, you can influence politicians. Then it is very much the rule of the mob. And that's what we have. You know, we call it democracy. It is not democracy. You know, when you last week or the week before, on the 6th of November, when you went and casted your ballot, your vote, what did you do? You voted. Well, that's what you think. But actually, all you did is you legitimized the rape of this country. You legitimized the rape of our Constitution. That's what you did. And I did too. I went and voted. But what do we have? Can we do something else? Even though we said, look, don't vote for neither the Democrats or the Republicans. But this sort of things needs a movement in the country. Because my vote alone, if I went and did it somewhere, actually, our votes here in Louisiana, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference because we are already counted in one camp. So forget it. Is that the kind of democracy we want? Is that the kind of democracy we want, that we are labeled red all the time? What kind of democracy is that? Why are we labeled red all the time? Well, that's not a democracy. Then the system is failing. If everybody is going to count Louisiana and all these other states, then the system is failing. That's not the system. We can't call that a democracy. But let's get back to our subject that we're talking about. You went and legitimized the rape of the country by casting your ballot. Because it was already selected. The president was already selected for you. You did not vote. You had the selection and you went for that selection because the powers that controls you and him, they're the ones who design all these. So what did the President of the United States say today and yesterday about Israel bombing Gaza? He very much regurgitated what Netanyahu, the prime minister of that bastard state called Israel, the illegitimate state called Israel. He said that Israel is defending itself. And our president, our parrots over here, very much regurgitated what Netanyahu said, and he said that Israel has the right to defend itself. Sure, I'll go along with that. Everybody has the right to defend themselves, not just Israel. So when we talk about defending yourself, when you are attacked, you get to defend yourself. The Palestinians were not the ones who attacked Israel first. It was Israel who sent its planes to kill those civilians. So the Palestinians retaliated with those homemade missiles that you see all over your TV screens. They exaggerate this. You think that Israel is on fire. You think Israel is going to be wiped out of the face of the earth. But these are the people who've been wiped out of the face of the earth, not the Israelis. But you don't see that. You don't see the Israeli F-18s when they are an F-22s bombing. You don't see the tanks going towards the border. Everybody just draws a blind eye on what the Israelis are doing, as we don't see what the Israelis are doing. But yet, the story you've been told that Israel is defending itself. Oh, poor little Israel is defending itself. Against who? Against who? You don't see any anti-aircraft missiles going up to bring down those F-18s and F-22s. Why? Because they don't have them. Because the Palestinians cannot defend themselves. So they try to defend themselves with the best, with anything they have. Now, if someone comes and attacks you in your house, well, if you have a gun, you're going to pull that gun and defend yourself and your family and your property. That's a given right. That's a given right. When you are attacked, no one, and even all international laws, give people the right to defend themselves when they are attacked. You know, like I said earlier, think about it. The Palestinians are in no way, they are no match to the Israelis. They're no match. Maybe they are determined and they have the will to protect themselves with dignity, but they're no match militarily. So why would they go and attack a country knowing what that country's capability is? Or knowing what that country's capabilities are? Because they have many capabilities, the Israelis can protect themselves. They have thousands of tanks. They have missiles that can reach Europe, not just little Gaza to the south. They have aircraft. They have submarines. They have boats out there in the Gaza Sea shooting at Gaza. Now, do you think, Gazans, they're not crazy. They know how strong Israel is, and they know when Israel hits, it hurts. They know that. They know that Israel has nuclear bombs and it can wipe them off the face of the earth within seconds. They know that. They know that Israel has, 500,000 man army? Or 1,000,000 man army? They know that. Equipped with everything, they know that. To tell me that Israel, and you know what the sad part about this is, many of you actually believe that. Many of you actually believe that Israel is why? Because that's what the media is showing you. Showing you these rockets going up, and then they show you where it landed. They show you what happened. They got into, I think they said they fired maybe 200 of those missiles, and maybe like one of them, two of them actually hit some homes randomly. I'm going to go to the phones. Caller, you're up.
Hesham.
Yes.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hey, listen, what do you think about the Palestinians are they going to go for statehood in the UN?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because actually...
Let me sit back and listen, okay?
Thank you. Well, actually, this is what this whole thing about. This is what is going on right now is the reason for what Israel is doing. Because the Palestinians, they are fighting politically to put their name on the map. They want to be part of the world community. They're there as people. They're there as on the land. They have the resources. They have the population. They have everything to form a nation. And after 60 years of being occupied by Israel, they decided to go to the United Nations and apply for a membership. Well, if you remember last year, they tried to do this. Actually, it was earlier this year. They tried to do this, and many countries, they went through the UN Security Council, the United Nations Security Council. And of course, the United States opposed that. And if any permanent member opposes anything in the Security Council, it doesn't go. Even though the majority of world governments and world people are saying, give the Palestinians a country, a state. Let them be. It did not happen. So the Palestinians now, on the 29th of this month, they are going to the United Nations, back again to the General Assembly now. And they have seen the General Assembly, no one has a veto power. Only in the Security Council, the permanent members have veto powers. You know, like the United States, China, Russia, England, France. So and when the United States said no, then it's no in the Security Council, in the United Nations Security Council. But you cannot be a state unless you actually get approval by the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council. So the Palestinians said, hey, look, we will go to the General Assembly and be voted as a state with observation membership. It's not like a member of the United Nations family, so it's not really like a state, but they said, well, we couldn't get a state still because the United States actually opposed it. Now, why would the United States oppose a Palestinian state? You might think, why? Is the Palestinians somehow a threat to the United States? No, of course not. But because Israel does not want a Palestinian state, then the United States is going to go exactly with what the Israelis want. You know, what's her name? Susan Rice, the United States representative to the United Nations, ambassador to the United Nations, whom, by the way, would probably be, she's probably going to be the next foreign minister of the United States. Well, we call them State Department. So she is going to actually head the State Department. So she was defending the Israelis in the Security Council yesterday, that Israel had the right to defend itself. But she never mentioned anything about the Israelis who actually went and started this war. And she did not mention that the Israelis started this war to actually get everything mixed up at this time. So when the Palestinians, when the 29th of November comes in, that whole area will be on fire. And people are going to say, we can't do it. So Israel wants to stop Palestine from becoming not a full member, but I mean, they know if Palestine gets this observer member status, to be an observer state. They call them observer states. You know, it's not like they don't have full capacity as a state, but an observer state. Israel doesn't want them to even have that. That's why they started this stuff with the Palestinians in Gaza. They wanted to kind of mix up all the cards here, shuffle the cards, and then when the 29th comes, all the cards will be scattered all over the place, and it will be hard to get a vote at the United Nations for a state of Palestine when Israel is at war with the Palestinians. So I'm glad actually he asked that question, because that's actually what we were going to explain to you, the reason why Israel actually have done that. So, you know, you ask yourself, what you see on TV is not what's going on in reality. You know, it's just like this thing with Petraeus and Paula Broadwell. It wasn't about an affair. No. It had a lot to do with the war that was brewing in the background in this country between people in the military and Barack Obama. That's what it boils down to. It boils down to, and yes, it was an actual, and if you want to know, just go see how many people, how many generals, how many people in higher positions in the military who opposed Obama politically. Many of them lost their jobs, early retirement, forced to retire, or in the case of Petraeus, yes. So it wasn't about an affair. And they're trying to show that, oh, the president didn't know about this until like the day of the election, and they did not want to do anything the day of the election. He didn't want to do anything a couple of days before the election because it might hurt him. It might be showing that, oh look, he's getting rid of Petraeus. So yeah, and that was a consideration. Now you knew, if Eric Holder knew about it, that the president knew about it that same day, and it's been there way before the election, but they couldn't remove him. That's not what we want to talk about. We told you that because what you hear on the news is not necessarily what actually went on. And the same thing with what is going on, what you see on your TV screens of what is happening. And everybody is talking about government, media, all these talking heads, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, all these on Fox and the rest. This is the time when these people will thrive. This is the time when these people will show their loyalty to the Zionist regime that is occupying and killing the Palestinians. This is payback. Now they put them on Fox, and they will get them to be heard and seen by tens of millions of people. But when they need them, they better be there to protect Israel. And that's exactly what they are doing. All of them regurgitating the same story. The same story of Israel is defending itself. Now, we had shown you the military gear that Israel has. Now, the other thing that we have to understand here, that Israel has made the decision to actually attack Iran. It had made the decision to attack Iran. Well, actually, it wasn't Israel. It was Benjamin Netanyahu. And it was his chief of staff and his minister of defense who said, we're not doing it. You're crazy. The United States is not going to help us because it's an election year. Because he wanted to do it a couple of months ago. He had made the decision 2 months ago. Yes, Netanyahu. Because he knew that if he went and attacked Iran, now he doesn't care, because the United States would have to join in. We showed you last time how we entered World War I, and the reason why America was pressured to enter World War I. It was because of these people up there. It was because of the Netanyahus of that time, when they bribed and twisted arms of our president and our Congress through their cronies in Washington. And we lost 126,000 people in World War I, basically to guarantee Israel, to guarantee Palestine for the Jewish people. That's all it was about. It was a secret deal between, and if you're watching this program, if you want to know the details of what we are talking about, just look at our last program. And by the way, our program does not run every week. It runs the first and third Thursdays of the month. Hopefully, we'll go back and do the every week, but at this time, extremely busy with other things that we had to cut it short to once every 2 weeks, or actually on the first and third Thursdays of the month. So please mark your calendars, the first and third Thursdays of the month. But you can always see us on YouTube. All you got to do is just put my name, Hesham Tillawi, or Current Issues TV, and you will get us on Ustream and on YouTube. And once you go on YouTube, you can just log into our channel where you will always have access to it that way. And you will have we have many, many programs that we actually had done years ago on this TV station. So, and we very much been telling you the same thing. Everything we have said from 9/11 to the wars in the Arab world to elections, and we have called every election for the last 10 years. So that's, well, actually more than that. Because the first election that we actually, it was George Bush, then George Bush, then Obama, and now Obama. So that's 4 elections. And the reason is, it's very simple. Believe me, you will not like it. You know, you love it when you go to through your day-to-day chores that you do. You go to work, you come home, whatever you do, and then you think, okay, we are electing these people. You will not like it if you dig deeper and you actually get to the truth of what's going on in this country. You're not going to like it. You're going to think, wow, we have been living a lie with this democracy that we have. It will make you sick to your stomach, actually, if you know how things go politically in this country. But you don't, and they know that. Why they know that? Because they control 99% of your brain. They know that if there are few people out there who know the truth. By the way, I just thought about something. There was a petition going on in this country. There was a petition going on online about states seceding from the Union. You will be surprised to hear that people from all 50 states signed that petition. Now, one thing, now this is going to take us back to the election. You know, the problem is that what we knew as the Republican Party, well, it's no longer there. It's no longer effective. The reason is, and that was, I made that statement actually, that the Republican Party is finished. Why was it finished? Because it aligned itself with extremists. It became the party of extremists. It became the party of extremists. It aligned itself with the likes of John Hagee, the evangelicals, who want war out there, who want Armageddon, so they can rapture and go and sit looking lovely on the side of God. It also aligned itself with extremists like the Tea Party. You know, the Tea Party is these people. This movement started as a very good movement with Ron Paul. The Tea Party was the Ron Paul party that the neocons and the Fox networks and the cronies out there, they picked it up and made it their own. And once they did that, it became on the far, far right. You know, this country cannot afford polarization. If we start this, and the Republican Party started this, if we start this and we go down this alley, this dark alley of polarization, of us against them, we're going to have civil war in every state. It is not going to be the United States as we know it. Now, it is not the United States of the last century. It is not the United States of the 1950s. It is not the United States of the 1920s. But that's something that those people in the Tea Party don't want to understand. The Republican Party lost. Now, of course, it lost because the system wanted it to lose. But that's how you design these elections. That's how you attach these groups to the party that you want to lose. Remember? Now, the Republican Party next is probably going to be moving to the center to rebuild itself, probably going to have to drop off some of these baggages that it picked up along the way and thought probably was going to help it. It did not. But those who design these elections know what they're doing. Attach that to the Republican Party. Get the Tea Party. This party is a racist party. You know, we mentioned this in the convention, by the way, when both of these Democratic Party and it was very visible. It was very visible by design. You know, the Republican Party, everyone, and I've heard this many times, the Republican Party, all you saw, I don't want to use racist here, but I'm just using it to drive my point in. And if you don't believe me, go see it. Now, were there blacks in the Republican Party in the convention? Yes, there were. Were there Hispanics? Yes, there were. Were they visible? No, they were not. On the other hand, that was by design. And then also you get the Tea Party making these extremist statements, or these extreme statements. Intolerance, racist. So everybody labeled them as racist. Everybody labeled them as the party of intolerance. Well, guess what? The country has changed. The faces in the country have changed. The names have changed. That was by design too. That was by design. That's how you control countries. That's how these powers control superpowers. A country cannot be stronger than their powers. Because if a country becomes stronger than their powers in their political system or in their society, then they can't control them. That's the reason why they control money. I think you get in the point that everything, now you're not going to actually leave, or they're not you, but they're not going to leave the control of a country like the United States, the superpower, the country that can go anywhere in the world for them and destroy regimes and destroy countries, destroy states that they don't like. Because the only one that can do that is the United States with its military. That's the only country in the world that can do that. They're not going to leave the control of that country, the control of that decision to chance, will they? Of course not. You know, they didn't work in the last 200 years to give it up now. So if you really know the truth of what's going on in the country politically, you will see that those poor Palestinians are in a much better shape than we are in right here. Let's go back to the phones. Cora, you're up.
Hello, Doctor.
Hi.
How are you? Maybe I would like some information from you. Maybe you can share with the audience some particulars about your drug arrest and how that went.
All right, that's very funny. And we will continue with this program, and we ask people that if you want to call and discuss this, you're more than welcome to call and discuss this. But when you call and just to effect, if you don't like what we're saying here, I guess be a man enough and talk about the subject that we are talking about here. But trying to distort what we're doing here because you don't like what we're doing, shame on you. Shame on you. And, throwing mud slugs at people or slugging muds at people, it's not going to work. And it's not going to shut us up. We will continue with this. We will continue with what we are doing here. We've been doing it. We don't get paid for it. And if you don't like what we're saying, hey, we opened the phone lines today so we can hear from you. So we can hear from you. Tell us your ideas. Tell us your opinions. Now we know not everyone out there is going to like what we're doing because actually the Zionist agents are all over the place. We know that. But hey, challenge our ideas. Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. But these cowards who want to distract and distort facts, that's what they are. Nothing but cowards. Anyway, we have a few minutes actually left in the program. And, we got about 8 minutes left in the program. But like I said, we were ready to actually tackle the elections and talk more about it. But, do I still believe in elections? Of course I do believe in elections, but not our elections here in this country, not the system we're using. It doesn't work anymore. It's been manipulated. I think we should go to a system where the United States, people in the United States, to elect the president. But again, the way these United States are set up is basically, which many of you don't even know, sovereign United States. Okay? They're independent. You probably don't even know that. These states were supposed to be sovereign states. And they're not sovereign states. So, most countries, they elect their president. And since we have, politically, we have the country as a one people, then it should be one people electing. This electoral college stuff doesn't work anymore. It can easily be manipulated. And these two party, actually it's one party with two faces, that's our problem. Is those two parties. Now, do you know how many, those of you who went and actually elected or voted, did you see how many candidates were on there? I think, about 11? I forgot. Do you know?
No.
No? Okay. Because Amr actually, he went with me in the booth and saw how we voted and stuff. But there weren't only two.
Many.
I guarantee you, probably, maybe there's like one or two people watching me tonight will even know one out of the one name out of all the names who were on there, but it would be a good exercise for you just to go and see who were those candidates. Okay, some of them were for the Socialist Party, some of them were the Communist Party, but hey, I mean, we don't just have the Democrats and the Republicans. We have the Libertarians, we have the Greens, but interest in those parties, it's not that great out there. Because for many years, for probably, over a couple of 100 years, we always had the Republicans and the Democrats, and everybody was just very much, they either, they think, I guess, Americans, they are born thinking that they have to either be Republicans or Democrats. You have, and then you have states. Now, do you realize that the country is about split in half? Well, not the country, but those who actually vote. They're almost split in half between Republicans and Democrats. That's why with the populist votes, you see 50 to 49. In almost every state, it was like 47, 49, like that. The populist votes. And when you look at our Senate, you'll see it very much split in half. You go to the House, well, it changes a little bit, but you still, everybody, it's like 99%, it's either Republican or Democrat, and they are very much close to each other. In the House, because you got too many people in there, they're not like split right in the middle. So this country actually is due for a political system overhaul. Our election needs to be changed. We can't continue with the same thing because it's becoming to be easy to manipulate, easy to buy, and it's not working. It's working for people overseas. It's working for money overseas. It's working for countries like Israel, who very much will control our political system. We don't want that. The last president to actually try to do something about this was John Kennedy, and he died in the process. His brother, Robert, wanted to continue on the same road that he and his brother John actually started. Well, you know what happened to Robert. Many of you don't even know who Robert Kennedy is, much less, well, you probably heard of John Kennedy because you studied that, but Robert Kennedy, well, he was the Attorney General of John, actually. So John had his own brother as his Attorney General who tried to do something with the Zionists in Washington. Didn't succeed. He died in the process. Because what they wanted to do is to have what is known today as the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. It used to be known as the Zionist Council of America, and who at that time was very much doing the job of the... now, what is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee? Well, this is a group of lobbyists that is the lobbying arm of 50 of the largest Jewish organizations in the country, which the American Zionist Council was, but after the assassination of John Kennedy, and because they were involved, John and Robert were involved in having these people register as a foreign agent. Now, when you register as a foreign agent, they wanted them to register as agents of the State of Israel at that time in the 60s. because they were affecting the political system in the United States, and they knew it's going to continue to affect the political system in the United States, so they wanted to stop it. They couldn't. They died. Both of them. John first, and then Robert, when he went for the election, afterwards, same thing. He was assassinated. Both assassinations, the investigations, and everybody says, it's just like 9/11. Just like 9/11. Big lie. Anyway, that's all we have for you. Actually, we will see you on the first Thursday in December. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. You want to say hello? Come on. You haven't seen him in a long time. You better hurry because we only have 7 seconds. Say good night.
Good night.
We'll see you next month.
Next month. Bye.